So, it's impossible to change what you're not aware of. True? And it would be fair to say, without personal courage, confidence and self-belief, it's almost impossible to set sights on a new horizon, let alone take action to get yourself there. And sometimes you might not even know what's blocking you. You just feel stuck, right? So today, in the short time we've got together, I'd like to share with you 3 hidden blocks that may be sabotaging your success. Your unconscious blueprint, your personal power, and your 3 brains not being in alignment. 3 brains being your head, your heart, and your gut. And I thought I could put on a PowerPoint presentation and read the dot points at you. And then I thought, no, it'd be more fun if I took you on a walking safari down my memory lane to Zimbabwe. That's okay with you? Yep, good. All right, so Julie can cancel the PowerPoint.
Beautiful.
Fabulous. Now, I've been in safari, lots of African countries, in a minivan. And you feel very safe in a minivan. It's a bit like being a can of meat on wheels. I felt more vulnerable on an open Land Rover, though they assured us that as long as no one stood up and waved, the lions saw us as a whole rather than a plate of meat. But this time, we were on foot, like all the other prey. And I was very excited. Now, did you notice I said very excited? I didn't say nervous, crapping my pants, because it feels the same in our body. It's only our head that tells us whether it's something negative or something positive. So I went for the exciting. It was windy. And you know, when it's windy, all of the animals go into hiding. And it's a sensible thing to do because they can't smell or see the predators. But the predators can certainly smell them. The lions love windy weather. So there we were, on foot, about to set off into the bush, the windy bush. Now, you can be forgiven for thinking, what on earth were you thinking, going to something so dangerous? My mother certainly did when I got home and told her. But at the time, I was only thinking with 2 of my heads. My heart was really excited because I was in Africa, about to do a game walk. I was having adventure, you know, all things that I really value. I was travelling with a fabulous group of girls. There were 3 that I'd met in London at a party originally, and then bumped into them in the Lowry a couple of times, and stuck with them in Harare. So we were really connected. My gut identifies me as an adventurer, so it certainly gave me the courage to say, yes, I'm in. And my head wasn't sure about the logic of doing this walking game safari in windy weather, but was reassured because we had our very own great white hunter with a serious shotgun. Just then, our Shona tracker spotted some big black birds circling in the sky. Now we're in Africa. What do you think those big black birds circling might have been? Vultures. And why do vultures circle in the air? Dead animals below. And what kills animals in Africa? Yeah, lions. Jackals, leopards, big teeth, big claws, right? Yeah. Now, at this point, I'm not sure where our guide's brain went, his brains. I suspect his gut was saying, well, I'm a big white hunter. I have to show these people more than dung beetles. And maybe his heart wanted us to be liked. He wanted us to like him, especially the blonde in that group. I'm sure he fancied her. And as for his head brain, well, maybe his head was thinking, wow, if I don't show them more than dung beetles, I'm not going to get a big fat tip. Whatever he was thinking, he made the decision.
It's okay.
He made the decision for us to walk over to where those vultures were circling on foot. Now, at this point, my whole body was screaming. I wanted to speak up and I wanted to say, don't be so damn stupid. They're circling because there's something there that killed something. What if it's still there? What if it's still hungry? But I didn't say a thing. And maybe you've had that experience where your whole body is screaming, speak up! But you don't. Maybe you're afraid that you're wrong. Maybe you're afraid that someone will say, you, how dare you question an expert? Or maybe you've been taught that nice girls don't criticise. Get back in your box. Whatever the reason. But by not speaking up, I was telling myself that I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe in my intelligence. I didn't believe in my judgment. I didn't believe in my intuition. Telling myself that and also telling the world. And yes, he's an expert. I hope so. For at least a year, because it was last year he shot that elephant. But the thing is, I gave my personal power away to someone in authority because he was the expert. But experts are humans. They have bad days, poor judgment days as well. So remember that when you're talking to your experts, your accountant, your doctor, your mechanic. You know, it's your personal responsibility. And if you're living in your personal power, it's your responsibility to keep yourself safe. So for goodness sake, speak up. Keep asking questions until either you've got enough information to feel safe or else you've got enough information to know to get the hell out of there. Quickly. But I didn't. And you know, personal power, when I talk about personal power, it's not about being egotistical, but it is about taking full responsibility for everything in your life. It's about knowing that the power is within you. No one can give you personal power. You have to claim it for yourself by self-belief. Dealing with your head trash, clearing that out of the way. It's about understanding that the power comes from within you and it's right here, right now. This is real. Nothing else is real. The rest is in your imagination. You know, it's either back in the past or out in the future. It's also about results. Not coming up with reasons and excuses why things didn't work. Didn't work? Okay, well, what can I do differently next time so it does work? So it's taking that responsibility. And when I talk about full responsibility, it's for everything in your life. And I heard people say, well, what about the weather? You can't take responsibility for the weather. You can't control the weather, but you can control the meaning you give to the weather. It's raining. Does that muck up your day? Or do you get really excited thinking, oh, it's fabulous for the gardens and the farms, until it's too much? Or do you just realise it's the weather? Nothing personal about it at all. It just is. It just happens. Get on with it. So it's taking responsibility for your reaction, the meaning you give to things in your life. So, pulled up my britches, swallowed my words, feeling sick in the stomach, and I followed the group. There's no way I'm going to be left behind. And with all those predators around that I couldn't smell or see. So we walked to the point, getting more and more excited. We walked past these big bushes, and by this stage the vultures were circling overhead. Walked past these big bushes into a clearing, small clearing. There's a single tree with a lone baboon in it, screaming its head off. Now that should have been a warning. I thought it was screaming, "Danger! Humans!" But it wasn't. And as we hesitated in this small clearing with that single tree with the one lone screaming baboon in it, big bushes there and around. The bushes there parted, and this enormous grey head with little eyes, a big trunk and massive ears emerged. Just there. Oh, and at her feet, a tiny little newborn calf elephant. So cute on a TV documentary, in a zoo, even in a vehicle, but not when you're on foot and Mama Elephant's ears are starting to wave. Now that's a sign, a very, very bad sign. So our guide said, now I was last in the group because remember I didn't want to come here. So as I backed away, I had one step, and then another, and then I heard this, lion, lioness, get in, trumpet in, elephant, growl, lions, trumpet in, My heart was in instant empathy with every herd animal on the patch. My gut was saying, run! And my head was saying, don't leave the herd. The group. Now, in situations like that, expert advice is really useful because in my overwhelm, I could only see two options. Trampled by elephant, ripped to shreds by lions. Thankfully, our expert guide, bless him, could see a third option. And he was obviously worried that we were going to panic and take off. He said, huddle together, follow me over that rise, slowly, carefully, and as soon as you're over the rise, run. Okay. So we shuffled off. The elephant with flapping ears, the growling lions is watching us. And as I said, I was last. And as I went past him on the rise, the elephant trumpeted and crashed through the bushes, and his gun came up. And then the Belgian guy in our group ran back past him into the line of fire. Why? To pick up his hat. That night in the bar, in his absence, we talked about why on earth would you risk your head to save your hat? But on reflection, how often do you do that? Or we do that on a day-to-day basis. We risk our head, important things in our life, our relationships, our health, that one thing we know we need to do to grow our business. We risk that while we play with our hats. The busy work, where you can kid yourself that you're actually doing something effective, but you're not really. And since then, I've discovered and studied unconscious blueprints. And I understand that in that Belgian guy, somewhere deep inside, there's an unconscious blueprint of a little boy who'd been threatened to never, ever, ever come home without his hat. So you didn't think, it was just instant. That's what you think. You grab your hat. Now, your unconscious blueprint is your internal image of yourself. It can be empowering, it can be disempowering. It can be considerably younger or even older than your chronological age. It might be the same as your chronological age, but once again, empowering or disempowering. Let me share some examples. So I'm just doing some mental maths calculations there. That's okay. We'll go with the flow.
Mental pause.
A mental pause. Well, this is deep level stuff I'm talking about. You need time to digest it. So let me give you some examples of unconscious blueprints. And these are case studies. I've changed their first names just to protect their privacy. Some are from around here and some are further afield. So I have clients all over the world and internationally. But Jane, for example, when she came to me and she learned about her unconscious blueprint and we did a session to identify it, hers was of a 6-year-old. And for her, it was like the light bulb going on. She said, oh, it makes sense. All my life, I felt like I'd been looking up at people. Now, it's not like she was a midget, not as tall as me, average height. But she'd always had this sense that she was looking up at people. And so to go to a networking event, even one that's so supportive as this, was extremely difficult for her because it was literally like a little 6-year-old going in to sit down with all the grown-ups. So you can imagine the impact that had on her ability to grow a business. She had difficulty driving in the car by herself for more than 30 minutes. And whenever she needed to ring her father, she just tied up, her anxiety just tied knots in her stomach. And she always ended up in tears because she was so intimidated by him. And we're talking about a woman in her early 40s. But once we updated her unconscious blueprint, it just made such a difference. She was able to not only drive more than 30 minutes, she could drive down to she was in Bundaberg, drive to Harvey Bay, set up a stall at an expo by herself. They handed her the microphone and said, we've got a spare 30-minute slot. Do you want it? She said, yes. And so she stood up there and talked about her work, her energy work, her dancing. And then, next I heard, she booked herself and her husband on an overseas trip. And this is someone who couldn't drive 30 minutes down the road. And of course her business blossomed, which is how they could afford to go overseas. Her father ceased to be a problem, we did some extra work around him. And he just became the sad, old, lonely, obnoxious man that he is. No charge, she could just deal with him, speak to him on the phone because she felt obligated to. Well, that's her decision. But it was no longer an issue for him. Another client, Janet, I'll call her. She came to me because she felt she was outgrowing her business. Her business was outgrowing her. Like it was surging ahead. And she didn't feel up to going to the same levels as her business was going to. She said, I feel fat and frumpy. And that's what her unconscious blueprint inside was, fat and frumpy. Tracksuit, baggy. And she tried diet, she tried this, she tried that, but it just was a struggle. Too much hard work. And so when we updated her unconscious blueprint inside, we trimmed her down, dressed her up, did her hair and her nails, smartened her up. I was expecting a change. But 2 weeks later, when we had our next coaching call, she booked an image consultant, she had her hair done, she had her nails done, she got back to the gym, she was walking her dog every afternoon, and the dog was delighted, no more behaviour problems there. And very soon, her external matched her new internal image. And that made a huge difference. And she said, She felt like she belonged in the business now, take it to the next level, and doing presentations to boards of directors and everything else that she needed to do at that next level. But she said the biggest thrill for her was when she'd dropping the kids off at the private school and no longer feeling ashamed as if she had to stay in the car. She felt comfortable getting out and walking around with all the other nicely dressed mums. Jason, extremely successful businessman. So I was wondering what issues he was having. Turns out, when it came to asking someone on a date, he turned into a glittering mess. And when we looked at his unconscious blueprints, he had two. One of the successful businessman, and the other of the spotty-faced Coles trolley boy. You know, the sort that girls would sneer at and laugh at and call pizza face. So when he went to approach someone, a woman on a date, ask for a date, he reverted to the little trolley boy. So we needed to update that. So and merge it in with the confident successful businesswoman that he wants. So then he could feel comfortable asking an attractive woman out. And that worked extremely well. Every time I saw him after that, he was smiling. Okay, fine. We also have unconscious blueprints of other people. And they can empower or disempower them or you. Just think of someone that you put up on a pedestal. You might really admire them, you might be intimidated by them. Or someone that you're quite dismissive of. You know, you don't take them seriously, or maybe you devalue their skills. What you're doing is disempowering, it's up there, disempowering yourself and disempowering them, so you're not able to take advantage of, you know, what they can bring to the party. And it's also forgetting that no matter how successful, fabulous, rich, sexy, beautiful someone is, each one of us has got the same intrinsic worth inside. No one is better or worse than you. We've all got the same value, just with different talents. And once you understand that, then it's easy being in personal power and just show up to be the best you possible and connect with people and, you know, utilise the best of them. Bring it forward. So, unconscious blueprints. So if you get stuck, feeling overwhelmed, just check in with yourself. Is it your unconscious blueprint that's empowering or disempowering you? Is it personal power that you've given away to someone else? And are you leaving yourself vulnerable to emotional blackmail? Or is it your head, heart and gut aren't in alignment, so you're not making wise decisions because you're too much in your head or too much in your heart, or leaping in boots and all with your gut, or maybe too scared to move? So there we were, around the bar, talking and looking back at what had actually happened. As the Belgian guy had run back into the line of fire, the expert reflexes had lifted the shotgun up, flicked it up into the air, thankfully. The elephant stopped, and the lions recoiled. And we grabbed this stupid Belgian guy with his hat and pulled him over the rise with us and took off. And tell you what, I was on such an adrenaline high, I seriously didn't feel the ground in that half-hour walk back to camp. And nothing since has given me such a high. Not even skydiving with a guide. So to be distracted in makes you go sick to the stomach. But looking back, you know, at the time we thought we were being attacked from all sides. But really, we just walked into someone else's fight. And we misunderstood the situation and thought it was about us. But it wasn't really. I mean, that baboon screaming its head off was obviously screaming at the lions, Or maybe it was yelling for help from the baboon troop, because, you know, a troop of 30 baboons could easily shoo off a couple of lions. The mother elephant, well, she obviously wasn't delighted to see us, but I suspect she was more upset about the smell of blood, because these lions were covered in blood. And them eating this feast in front of her baby rather than us. And as for the lions, well, they'd eaten 2/3 of a wildebeest. They weren't hungry anymore. Obviously didn't want their lunch trampled on by us or the elephant. But if they were serious about eating us, they wouldn't have said a thing. They would have just stalked and launched on the nearest person. Me. I hate being last in a group. So when you think about that, I wonder if there's anywhere in your life that you've actually taken responsibility for something that really wasn't your stuff at all. So just allow that to percolate, and something might come up that maybe you can just let go. So everything I've talked about is all, as I said, increasing your personal power, clearing your head trash out of the way, so you can live your purpose, which is to be the very best you possible. And I've got some things to help you. I've already talked about the CD sale, my head trash clearing book, personal one-on-one mindset and healing coaching with me. In your goodie bags, no, actually on the table, you've got 2 offers there. The Ditch to Bitch, that's your opportunity to have a complimentary session with me. We'll actually identify your unconscious blueprint, whether it's yours that's disempowering or maybe yours of someone else. And by the way, if your sex life isn't as good as it used to be because you lost a bit of interest, I can help you turning back into the stud muffin you're married. Just saying. Now, if that's a whole talk in itself, isn't it?
You put it out there.
Yeah, well, let's go. I've got testimonials. I've got emails and letters of gratitude from husbands. Now, the other one. So if losing weight has been on your wish list yet again this year and nothing's happening, take advantage of the Ditch Dieting for Life. There's a card there and a link, and that will go through to a quiz and the brochure with some more information, and it gives you the opportunity to then send your quiz results to me, and I'll book in a complimentary time just to go through and pick out a couple of highlights, things that you might be able to shift and change to help you move forward. That's the M-brain energetic. So it's basically connecting to your gut wisdom and getting you in alignment. So then you're only using food for food's purpose, which is just to nourish, energize your body, so you can get on and enjoy life until you've used it up and then you have a little bit more, rather than turning food and eating into our whole lives, which is what it can become when you use it for purposes other than nourishment.